Okay, so hello everybody, and thank you for being here on our last Ednet of the year. I know it's a difficult time of year for everybody. We're all very busy getting ready for our holidays, most of us, and today we have with us Andrea Monsanto. I'm very, very happy that she's giving this presentation for Ednet because to me, Andrea's a good friend of mine on the one hand, but we've been working together for many years, um, starting with the compassionate integrity training. And she was in Colombia and invited me to her project there. And then we worked in a project here in Monterrey. And now she's actually here in Monterrey, Mexico, working um, doing a lot of wonderful, fantastic work within education, within the community, and she's actually created a nice community around the work that she's done. What I like especially is that she's chosen some of the projects that have actually come out of Ednet, and she's followed through with them. So it's for me, it's like bringing together the tools that we have offered and what can happen with them. And what can happen is so beautiful. Um, Andrea, I'll leave the rest up to you. You know more about the project and all the work that you've been doing. So I'm just really glad that you're here and just I'll hand on the word, the board to you.
Thank you, Merida. Thank you so much. And I'm very grateful to be here. The Charter for Compassion has been a very important force in my life in many different ways. And you're right, Merida, a lot of the things that I bring to the table today came from Charter for Compassion and from all the amazing work you've been doing. So thank you. And I do want to introduce also Rafael. He's part of the project as well. He's one of the students that was working with us in this project. So I'll give him a chance to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Rafael. I've been working with Andrea for the better part of this semester. And well, I've gotten to meet her as a colleague and as a guide into helping other communities grow and change their ways of thinking.
Thank you, Rafa. Rafa has been a very important person in this project, so I'm very grateful that he's here. It's his vacation and he still chose to be here. So thank you for that, Rafael. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to do a short contemplative practice. We're going to talk about compassion, so we might as well be in a heart-centered space. So I'll take just a few minutes and ask you to stretch, like if you just woke up, getting our body, mind, and heart ready for this. I'll ask you to move your head around your neck, nice and slow. Paying attention to all your sensations, emotions. You can yawn nice and big. And I invite you to look for a comfortable posture, straight but comfortable. You can bring your attention to your face, to smile slightly in a way that feels natural to you. If you want, you can bring your attention to your breathing, infusing the air that you breathe with gratitude, love, compassion, allowing it to circulate all throughout your body. Now, if you want, you can bring your attention to the weight of your body against the chair or the surface in which you are right now. And if you choose to do so, you can rock your body nice and slow in circular movements, looking for your center of gravity. Now I'll invite you to put one hand in your chest, the other one in your abdomen, if it feels comfortable. And just notice how your hands move very slightly with every breath. Now we can look at ourselves in the same way that we would look at someone who we really love, with an attitude of kindness, love. Now I want you to extend those feelings of love, compassion, kindness to all of us here in this space through Zoom. Now make those feelings of love and compassion go beyond us and reach all human beings, all living beings. Let's put our intention to have a very fruitful time together. And let's bring to our mind our highest value right now. Now I invite you to open your eyes slowly so that we can begin. Thank you all for this little space. I needed it more than everybody else, I guess. So we're very happy to share our project, and I'll start. And then after I finish my part, then I'll pass the word to Rafael. He's going to give us a nice, beautiful trip with pictures through everything that we've been doing. Oh, here's Lucela. Nice to see you, Lucela. So I'll share my PowerPoint presentation, but even before that, I'll just say a few words and just kind of put it into perspective before I go into slides. And I just want to describe the project. It's called Inspire Compassion in Action. And what is this? It was basically an educational intervention in which we worked with college students from Tecnológico de Monterrey. And then I would train them on different skills, including compassion, collaboration, psychological flexibility. And then they would then go to a low-income community and teach those skills to a whole community of children, little ones, teenagers, moms, and just we also did a research component, which was a big part of it. So that's kind of like in a nutshell the big picture about it. And now I'll go into a few more details. I'm sorry. So I'll go into more details, but while I will have the presentation, I just want to say that I feel I've done very beautiful projects throughout my life, but this one has got to be one of my favorites. It was just a very meaningful and high impact project. So it was a collaboration between a few institutions. One of them is called Pal Sur del Norte, and that was a local non-for-profit. They were a key partner in this project. So we have it right here. And also we had prosocial, and I was part of a program that's called Prosocial Action Lab. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So basically, I work with Tecnológico de Monterrey. For those of you that don't know the institution, it's one of the biggest universities in Mexico, and we have about 26 campuses. And my job was to design well-being programs for our students. And I probably don't even have to tell you, we all know that emotionally, people are going through a tough time, and young people are going through a tough time. They're going through depression, anxiety, um, psychological inflexibility, problems with sleeping, suicidal ideation, and all these huge issues. And I was hired to create programs that would offer protection factors for the students. So this was my proposal to the university, and it's basically a compassion-based program. When we look at research right now, it shows that the most effective way to create protection factors for emotional well-being is to develop spirituality, according to Lisa Miller. And of course, we're talking about secular ethics. This is a secular organization. So the basis of this is compassion. This was the point that kind of goes across every single part of my proposal, and it was basically a four class program. Each one of those programs, one of those elements, is a program of about 10 weeks. So the first program, which is Yes, Self-Compassion, was designed for us to have a better relationship to ourselves. When we hate ourselves, when we self-sabotage, when we belittle ourselves, nothing works. So unless we can overcome those self-destructive patterns, then it's hard to be well. So the first aspect here was to develop self-compassion, and for us to be able to, little by little, in a society that wants us to measure ourselves based on external things, this is key, just knowing our intrinsic value. And that was kind of that first element. And then after that, the second project was Yes, Prosperity. And this talks about money in a very particular way, not money like we would hear it in very implicit ways that, I want to have more money and how am I going to make more money and money this and money that. This is more about how can I have a healthy relationship with money so it adds to my life instead of sending me in a spiral of just trouble, because I think a lot of our issues come from not having a good relationship with money and putting our mindset in like producing and material things. So this was a program designed to just have a different perspective on money that's a lot more compassionate and a lot more um, geared towards our own inner growth. So that was the second program. The third one actually was supposed to be Yes, Compassion, but a lot of things happened. And the third one that I developed was Prosocial Leadership. And this is where the whole project that we're going to be describing, it comes out of here. And the point here was to have a not just a program that where you go learn something, but to have a project that kind of puts all of this together, and that it's an altruistic project. And that's what inspire compassion in action is. It's the answer to this element that was crucial in this model, having something that students can just get out of their own minds and go do something for someone. So here, our objective was to support the conscious evolution of collaborative communities towards compassion and human flourishing. This is our group of students. We had like two of them missing, unfortunately, but the essence of what we did was teach conscious evolution. This was with the help of prosocial and their very cutting edge technology. And so we did that, and this conscious evolution was geared towards compassion, knowing how to look inside ourselves, and now knowing how to work our own shadows and be able to just gain skills to awake and have a more conscious life, but then also grow. And as Ken Wilber says, the project, I actually should say that the model that I just showed is based on Ken Wilber's integral model. So it's about waking up, but it's also about growing up. How do we relate to each other? Do we think in terms of, you know, us versus them? And then that's a big problem. So instead of that, we were teaching compassion and collaboration. And this ended up being a very, very strong combination. So what we did is we had about 17 students, and here in Mexico, in order for students to have a bachelor's degree, they have to have 480 hours of community service. So our project was one of those projects that the students could choose from to get some of those community hours. And so the organizations that came together to make this project happen was Prosocial World. They provided a big part of the funds. Pal Sur del Norte, they also, this is a non-for-profit that had been working with this community for a while. Tecnológico de Monterrey, they provided all their amazing, talented students. And then we have Emory University that they provided the curriculum for little children. I don't have experience working with little children. So when we went to this community, we used their C-learning program, which is very, very well put together. And this community is very interesting. This is the map of our state. It's called Nuevo León. And in the south of Nuevo León, there's this little town called Refugio de Cerros Blancos. And besides being a low-income community, it's also interesting because most of the men in this community just immigrate to the US because there's not much going on in their town. There's not many opportunities. And then on top of that, there's also a lot of drug dealers around the neighborhood. In fact, we needed to cut our project about 2 trips short because of security issues. So this makes our target audience very vulnerable in many different ways. So we wanted to and even if it's in a small way, we wanted to give them a different vision for their lives where they, instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to go to the US, or maybe if I want to have enough resources, maybe I should go and be part of a cartel. We wanted to change the dreams of the children and teach them that there's other things that they can think of and other dreams they can achieve. So this was done in their school. There's one school for the whole community, and it's a K through 12 school. So we work with the children, like I mentioned before. We also work with the parents, and we worked with the children. I think that if you're missing any of these key players, the project can actually create more trouble. If you have children that are more emotionally intelligent than their parents and their teachers, then it creates a lot of confusion when the children see their parents and the people that they look up to making big mistakes. So that's why I wanted to design the program in a way that we work with these different audiences because they are very crucial. So this was our team. Like I said before, I have 2 of them missing, and we separated the team into four different subgroups, and one of them would work with the children, another group would work with the teachers, and they prepare a compassion day. Another group would work with the adults, and this was beautiful because actually the moms are the ones that usually show up, and then we had very young people like Rafa, and they're like 18 years old, 19 years old, and here they are teaching parenting skills to the moms. They all had to really come out of their comfort zone to make this happen. And then the last element was the research component, and this was also very moving because you had moms opening up to our very young students and just pouring their hearts out and letting them know the challenges that they were going through and how our project was helping them. So that's kind of the gist of it. And then one more thing, this community was about 5 hours away from Monterrey. So we did it in the fall semester, we just finished. It was 5 trips in 5 weekends, Saturday and Sunday. And this is a picture of the college students just having a really good time during the trip. They really created some very beautiful bonds. And that was also, kind of like something that we did not expect at the beginning. And it ended up being a very big part of it, the friendships that they developed. So with that, I will pass it to Rafa. This one, Rafa likes me to explain because he wasn't part of the project at that moment. And now what we're going to do is we're going to give you like a quick overview of what is it that we did. And we started this project with a teacher's training. So it was 2 days, and we went to their community, but there's only like 6 teachers in that school. So instead of just giving the training for 6 teachers, we invited other communities around our target audience. And so we had this nice number of teachers here that came to the training. And again, it was on compassion. It was a lot of mindfulness, a lot of compassion, a lot of emotional self-regulation that they learned. And they were also part of the Emory training. So they said they really liked the training, and then they would send us pictures of everything they were doing with their students as well. And so with that, I'll pass it to Rafa. Rafa, I don't know if you want to show your own slides or if you want me to manage the presentation.
I'll share screen.
Okay,
Yes,
sure.
share screen.
But so maybe I should stop here just for a second and see if there's any like pressing questions, even though I know that later we'll have a moment for questions. But if anyone feels compelled to ask something, then that's fine.
This is really beautiful. So please carry on. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. So, can you see the screen? I think you can.
Now we can, yes.
Okay. So, continuing with after the teachers training, we started with a retreat. In this retreat, we went to I don't know, I don't remember the name, but it was a waterfall, and it has a big segment for recreation activities, but we took that space and transformed it into the beginning of this project. In which we met everyone else from the team. I personally didn't know anyone, but at the end, I became really close friends with some of these people, and I really enjoyed the time we spent. Here you can see us stating which people from the community are related to the project, which can help us, which are affected, which can take some advantage of this. And well, this is the system map, some of the activities that Andrea had prepared for us. This is also part of the retreat. Here you can see us walking through the nature around the place that we stayed in, and to the right you can see the classes that Andrea gave us about prosocial world and the methodologies that we were gonna follow through the project. One of the most important things that I can recall about this is that we started to meet everyone else from the project, and we started to know how we were gonna work out the things that we had to do in order to change in order to change the state of mind of the people from the community. I already knew the community at this point, and I really loved it. So when everything from prosocial started to get into the project, I jumped straight in. I tried to be like cooperative and proactive during all the sessions, during all the activities that we had together. So I tried to like take sort of a leader role with my other colleagues, just because I really wanted this to happen in the community. Next, we had the welcome party. This happened shortly after the retreat, and we met the community. The photos talk better than I could, so you can see how everyone else is just at the school that was presented earlier. You can see everyone at the school, and we started to give out what we studied, our names, what we wanted to do with the community, and they receive you with such warmth. It's incredible. Every time I go, it's it's a lot of love coming from the community to everyone who's just batting an eye at them or enjoying the time they're in the community. It's a lot of love from them. Next, we had the prosocial leadership immersive experience. These were classes gave out by Andrea, in which we, as the retreat, we learned about the prosocial methodologies. In these classes, we got to experience a lot that these prosocial methodologies leak into your life. Every single session, we had at least one person who started to rant about their problems, who started to open up about how they felt. Every single session, I feel like someone, at least one person, really took this into their lives, because you could see them just really feeling it and knowing that that all of these content that Andrea was giving us really impacted every single thing that happened in our lives. Next, you can see the first cohort. This is the first team that worked with youth and parents. This is the actual team that I was coordinating, one of the two. As you can see, they're all from Tec de Monterrey. And next, we had the classes they were giving out. They focused on giving out classes on the CDPs, which are Principios Básicos de Diseño. We had to translate the content to deliver it to the parents. And we had a lot of sessions in which they either thought about one or two CDPs during the weekend, or they also gave out parenting skills, which I think was the most important part of all our visits, because this was changing the perspective that parents have on their children, making, when you focus on children, you focus on the future of a community. And in order to change the perspective you have in parenting, you have to change how the mothers see the children. You stop making them think that they are bad people. You start making them feel like children are not bad because they're bad. They're bad because they still don't know how the world works. And thus, I think it's the most important part of everything that we taught to the mothers, at least. It was really nice to see them feel comfortable sharing their stories with us. I actually didn't feel very secure talking to mothers about how they should treat their children, because I don't know, I just felt out of place. At the beginning, I told Andrea that I wasn't really sure if I could give out the classes. Like maybe another woman from my team should give these classes. But then is when Andrea told me that that's like the complete point, like to remove that idea that only women can teach about these things, and that me as a man who knows these methodologies is completely capable of teaching this to other people. Next is Alpha Dynamita. He is focused on the Compassion Day, and these are the two tech students. You can see the Compassion Day was carried out in two different places at the same time. Picture to the left, you can see the Compassion Day in the school, and the picture in the middle is a compassion tree made by the children from the school and actually people from our team. And to the right, you can see the Compassion Day here in Tec, not in Tec de Monterrey, here in Monterrey. It was a big party in which we celebrated what we had done throughout the semester, and we took a lot of pictures and videos that show the change in what we thought, or not the change, but what we thought about how we impacted in the program and how the program impacted us. Next is Creciendo Juntos, and these focused in working with children. They made out a lot of activities to make the children think about themselves, think about the future, think about how they wanted to be treated, think about how they wanted to feel. To the left, you can see one of I think my favorite activity, which is the children figuring out which were their main resources in order to feel better. Like what could they think about when they felt anxious, when they felt sad, or scared about what's going on. Here is more of that activity, the treasure chest, which they took this little file and they filled it with the resources and also the kindness activities to the left, in which they drew different pictures showcasing what kindness is to them. And to the right is a little, I think it's bigger children, not children, but teenagers, and they were journaling their experiences, which I think I should start doing, because I did it for I think like 1 week during this project, and it really clears your mind a lot. It really helps. But I think that these practices really change their perspective on themselves and of their future. They make them reflect on their own lives. And it's very important to have children think about themselves, because sometimes children just think about what they have to do, of school, of not being a bad person, of behaving correctly. This is a time for them. And I think that's very important. Next, we have Mentes Creativas. They focused on the research and multimedia for the project. They were giving out the interviews to the mothers, to the bigger teenagers from the community, which I think are almost adults, or 16 to 18 years old. And as you can see, a picture to the left, their body language is not is not very open. It was very hard to connect with them. I don't know if I was never really sure if it was because they were shy or they didn't like opening up, because I think it's a big part from being a man, mostly in this community. A big part of being a man is trying to suppress your emotions, not because you cannot show weakness or anything. It's because it makes you not a good candidate for anything much if you are not if you're not well, if you're not happy, if you're not open to work. So I think it was part of being shy and part of wanting to appear well to everyone else around them. And to the right, you can see the interviews to the mothers. This was very touching. At least I wasn't a big part of these interviews. I was handling more the teams that had to do with a compassion day and with the mothers of the CDP's classes. But all my colleagues just came to me a little bit like quiet and serious and just started to talk to me about how they felt during these interviews, because they were really touched from all of this. They saw mothers crying and really opening up with them, which was very, at least strange to me, because I really didn't expect it. I really didn't expect that adults from Tec de Monterrey that were studying a career from Monterrey really could connect so close as they did with mothers from such a different space, such a different community. I was very glad that these interviews were carried out, and how they were carried out was very important to me. Next is the Compassion Day. I was already presenting a team that was focused on this, but this was the celebration, the main celebration at the end of the project. Here you can see us just taking the group and individual photos and videos. This is actually in Tec de Monterrey. This is on campus. And next, you can see Elefas. Elefas is a team that was focusing on working with mothers. In these sessions, they gave out spirituality sessions to the team. And I could say that these were very impactful, and that they really showed up the practical side of all of this, of the spirituality sessions, like grounding, feeling safe. What Andrea started during this session was a big part of what they taught in the spirituality sessions. Pictured to the bottom, you can see the celebration in a restaurant, and to the right, us in Academ, which was the place where this was taken up. Next is Refugios a los Blancos. this was happening at the same time, in which they did the mural, the compassion tree, two compassion trees actually. And the mural was focused on a thank you, a big thank you to the entire project. And I really felt my heart really warmed with this because I could see my name, I could see kids just right now like having a good time with me and with a big part of the team. I don't know. I didn't expect to leave a mark on them because one, because I didn't really spend much time with the kids. When I did, I had a really good time. But I think the main people that I impacted was the mothers, because we had another visit time after this, about I think 2 weeks ago. We had another visit, and I was present, and the mothers just received me the same as they always did. Really happy and really happy to have me close in the community again. So this mural is I think is the best showcase of the impact that we had. These are the members for the coordination team. It was me and Beatriz. Without Beatriz, I don't think this project could have had the impact it really had, because she is part of the community and she's an example to everyone from the community that you can make it. You can make it without having to join a cartel. You can make it without having to go to the US. You can make it. Is one of your capability, is one of your human rights to be able to have education. And she really took advantage of this. And next is the project directors from PSN, Pal Sur del Norte, and Andrea, and the project leaders. And with that, the presentation is over. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Rafael. Thank you so much. I pass the word to, I don't know, you, Merida or Marilyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so insightful and so inspiring. Congratulations, because I think the whole process of finding these young leaders, Andrea, within tech, getting them to understand what is required and taking them to the rural communities, which are so much need of some sort of social emotional learning and training, and they're in so much need of acts of kindness. I think this is one of the great examples of how this can be done and how it should be done, really.
Thank
So
you, Merida.
I think this is I really enjoyed seeing how it all developed. And again, I repeat it, it is an example of how we can do this, no? I don't know if anyone else has questions. I have a whole bunch of things that I can share and ask and to make this conversation rich, no? I just wondered if anyone else would like to say anything before I go ahead. But how did you live the process, Andrea? Oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, while someone to give them time to think of any questions. I'll answer your question in a second. I just want to say to your point of this community and how they need acts of kindness. This is a community that's been forgotten by so many people, and then many times they're seen as like a nuance, like, oh yeah, they're there and they're not adding much. And to have someone go 6 hours to go see them, it seems that that's good enough for them. Like we could have just been there to kind of like spend some time with them and just kind of hang out, and that would have been so well received. But just the fact that we were giving them, and this is something that I love, this was top notch knowledge like elite knowledge, and that's been my question, because I'm very well aware that some of these concepts are elite. It still has not reached the masses, and to be able to bring this kind of knowledge to such a disadvantaged community, they're getting the best of the best, and then they're not used to that. So it was beautiful to be able to teach all of this with pride and know that we were giving them very, very helpful and life-changing education. So to your question, how did I live it? It was surprise after surprise. It was challenges too. Not everything was like, oh yeah, like falling from heaven. There were many challenges that we had to overcome. Our students are busy, and sometimes when in our interactions, sometimes they would comment how they didn't have time to eat. And here you are asking so much from them because this was time consuming, and ask for so much time from students that barely have time to eat. So that was a challenge, and Rafa says it nicely. Um, Sometimes the results were great because the students are very talented. So when it was showtime and we were at the community, everything would flow. But then the process wasn't so smooth. It was many times, last minute, let's get this done, and maybe in the bus while we're traveling, getting the last aspects of the project together. So that was challenging, but it was beautiful. And I guess my biggest takeaway was just the power of teaching collaboration and compassion together. When Rafa was talking about CDPs, those are basically elements or yeah, principles for collaboration. And it was interesting because prosocial teaches this concept more in the context of teamwork, in your at during your occupational interactions with colleagues and in projects. This is the context in which these principles are taught. But we took them to a different context, which was family. And boy, was it powerful. So, yeah, that was one. I'm still impressed with that. And something else that I'm very impressed about is the methodology itself, called from bottom up leadership. So I was not the one telling everyone what to do, which is kind of like the usual thing. Many years of experience, they have zero experience. So it could have been like, yeah, you do this, you do that, but that's not what the methodology calls for. And it was a challenge for me to give up control to someone that I was a little bit doubtful how, well they could do it. But it was beautiful to see how when you do it the right way, the project shines because the collective intelligence of the team just made it so much better. And with all my years of experience, I would have never come up with something as special just because I gave the students a chance to add their flavor into it. So there were so many parts of this project that you saw today that was just, this was not my thinking. It was truly a team effort. And that was the power of collective intelligence. To me was like priceless. And the next question is, wow, how much talent do we miss in the world because of these top-down hierarchies that don't allow that collective intelligence to shine? So, Rafa, if you want to also answer the question of how you lived the project, please.
Sure. From my point of view, well, it was a really big showcase of what my father calls the student syndrome. The student syndrome focuses on finishing everything last minute because you're a student. It really happens a lot with these projects, mostly because it's a side project. Because well, we're studying our careers and um, we have prosocial to the side. It really happened a lot. The the syndrome is true. I can verify it. My teams really struggle with these deadlines and really struggle to make everything work out on time. In the end, everything happened well with, as Andrea said, everything really flowed with the community because we finally saw each other. We really had a big time struggling to meet everyone and have a session before the community visit, because well, the community visit, besides being the trip, it really takes all your weekend. So you had to work a lot before that weekend, so you don't get late on deliveries from your career. So it was very hard to meet everyone. But when we met, like in the bus, for example, in the bus, we could work a lot. We could focus on any doubts that we had, or even arriving at the community. Maybe in the bus we didn't really have time to speak because we were really tired and everyone was sleeping or reading or relaxing, getting ready to meet everyone. But in the community, we talk a lot, and we really resolve every problem that arrived at on spot at the time, and we were able to deliver the CDPs, the core design principles, and everything from at least from the team that I was coordinating, everything was delivered, and I really enjoyed being a coordinator, being in touch with Andrea. Um, I think that in order to carry out projects like this, that you work with communities, you have to have people that are really invested into them. I wouldn't have worked with Andrea if I didn't really enjoy spending time with the mothers, with the children from the community. I have this tendency to help without really thinking about taking something out of it. I didn't needed the hours. I didn't needed the visits. I didn't really need anything from this community. I really didn't um, try to take anything out. The pride, everything. Just no. I don't need anything in order to help these people because I really care about these people, and I really find peace of mind. Maybe I can take something out of them, which is peace of mind, in that having an impact on a place that you really love. It makes you feel better, just plain better. And a lot of the CDPs I was also taking into my life. So I really did change a lot during this semester, and maybe figured some stuff that I didn't know about myself, which is that I really like to help.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. It's so
Thank you.
nice. Thank you. How do you both envision the population using the tools you've given them? Do you envision that?
Absolutely, Merida. That was the whole point of this project. And as we gather at the very beginning, I told our team, if we're going there to transmit concepts, we might as well not go at all. It's a waste of time. We don't want to teach them something that's just for them to know. We want to teach them something that they can take home and apply in a daily basis. So the way the methodology and the classes were taught was, the philosophy of it going from your head to your heart to your hands. So for example, there's one of the CDP, the principles of collaboration, talk about gradual responding to useful and unusual behavior. That's one of the CDPs from Eleanor Ostrom. So it sounds kind of like a little bit abstract in a way, but we brought it down to, like, you know what, this is about you noticing when your child does something well. So when your child does something well, you praise them. And how do you praise your child? You go to the level of their eyes, you look at your child, you tell them lots of beautiful things, and you hug them. So if we had left it at, this intellectual level of gradual responding to useful and unusual behavior, that doesn't do a thing. So our job with everything we did was to really just ground it on, this is how you apply it. And this is a book for you to write it down every single day. You go back and you reflect. That's the conscious evolution piece. And we talked about the three words of evolution, because the point of with prosocial is you want to apply the same principles of evolution, genetic evolution, to your own life, personal evolution. So we talked about variation, we talked about selection and replication. So what did you do different today? Did it work? And if it worked, keep doing it, right? Because if I spank my kid all the time and then I'm taught to do it differently and I do it one time well and then I go back to spanking, there's no evolution there. You went back. So absolutely everything was based on helping them integrate and embody what we were teaching them. Rafa, I don't know if you would like to add to
No, thank you.
that.
That's beautiful. And within that question, you answered it. My next question is about and this is more technical than from the heart, I believe, but how replicable. So I know we have Jibrin Muhammad here, for example, who's probably from a different continent, no, and a totally different population. So how replicable do you find the program is? And I think you've come to something spot on. But I would like you to explain maybe the different phases of it and how it all comes together, and for others to be able to really replicate it. What would someone have to do?
Thank you, Merida. That's my big challenge now because, like I said, this was a beautiful project, but by no means is it a simple project. And I grossly underestimated the amount of work it was going to take. I am very happy because it was just a project that I was very passionate about. However, that's my challenge, Merida. How do I replicate this? Because within tech, we have 100 low-income schools that are waiting for this. So the way I see it right now and what I'm working towards is it's got to be someone that's familiar with the methodology. You cannot do this project at the quality that we did it if you don't know the concepts and if you're not a prosocial facilitator. It was all, even though we also had Emory's compassion program, even the concepts of compassion were taught in the context of prosocial methodology. And so that's the first thing that needs to happen for someone to do this is they gotta be familiar with the methodology. And it's actually quite powerful and impactful. Just the same way Rafa was mentioning that it had touched his personal life in many levels. That's the same exact experience I've had in my own life. So you cannot teach something that you have not, or I guess you could teach it, but not very effectively. I guess, especially when we're talking about this kind of knowledge, you got to teach it from a place of um, from knowing, from some kind of experiential, embodied understanding where you teach from experience and then from there everything flows. So the way I think I'll approach this is a train the trainer and not being able to escalate some projects that way. So if I train trainers and then they go and they do the same thing, it's not like we're going to replicate it from one day to the next because it's a complex project, but it actually, it can escalate pretty quickly when it's a train the trainer model.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Beautiful. And and at the beginning, or no, not at the beginning, or yes, how did the population actually? I mean, they must be really excited that you have expressed that they're very excited to receive all of this, no? How much does that excitement disrupt their life? It must disrupt because they're living a different kind of life, I think. I know some of the communities or surrounding communities, not that one specifically, but they live a very different life. So is this very disruptive? How disruptive is it?
Rafa, do you want to take? Yes.
Thank you.
Well, one thing Abril has taught us, which is the main leader for PSN, Parcel del Norte, is that sometimes that excitement is corrupted by wanting to take something out of the people that are coming, like us giving food, us giving clothes, toys, things, and sometimes they expect and only go to the school just because maybe this time we will give something out. and that happens a lot. It has happened to Abril many times, and she has had to give the same speech many times, in which I am not coming here in order to give you things. I am coming here for you to learn and change your own lives. And if you beg me for things, I am not coming back. And that's a very powerful speech that Abril has given out to the community many times, and it has really changed the way that the people come to the school. I have never seen, at least for the mothers that come to the classes, that went to the classes of CDPs. I never saw them asking for stuff. I never saw them begging for maybe food or medicine or clothes. That has its own time. And if you're coming to the classes with us, the students, sorry, you're coming to learn, and it's not the same. It's not the same ideas that we expect, like the idea of coming here to gain something from us. It's coming to learn something. Maybe you do get something. You do get experience, and you do get a different way of viewing your family and your connections with everyone else around you. But you don't get here just to get something material out of this, because if we give you food, we would have to feed you every single day, and that's not sustainable. That's impossible. We give you something that you can take to your own house, and maybe this way you can make everyone be part of your system, and you can start getting more income. Maybe your kids help you with something, and now you have more time to do another thing, and that way you're producing more. Maybe you're starting to sell more of the product that you're doing, your artisanal products, and that's you're getting something material out of it at the very end of it. First, you begin to gain something spiritual, then you begin to gain um, something social, which is closeness to your family, and at the very end of this project, at the very end of these methodologies, just you could take advantage of this in a more material way. But yes, we are very disruptive in which we sometimes we give this idea to the community that we're gonna bring something to them, but it is alleviated by Abril. Abril is a big that big speech really hits me every single time she gives it out.
Thank you, Rafa. And I want to say that it was disruptive not only for the community, but also for ourselves, and I'll speak for myself because I was confronted with my own biases. I went to this community feeling really bad for them, and in a way seeing them like weak people that have been forgotten. And boy, was I wrong. I was confronted with these people are just like you, common humanity. They're resilient. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, and this was my big take home lesson. It doesn't matter if it's Refugios de Cerros Blancos, working with the most vulnerable community that I've ever worked with, or it doesn't matter if I'm teaching the directives of tech. And it was very ironic because I was going both at the same time. The highest level that I've worked with, and also, the most vulnerable community. And at the end, it's common humanity. How disruptive is this? As disruptive as you make it with your own personal commitment. If I teach you all these tools and you make them your own, it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor, if you're old, if you're young. The main thing is, what are you going to do with it? And the beauty of it was seeing these women that are warriors and took this home. And they would come back and share how they're meditating, how they're improving their relationship with their family, how they're asking their boys to help at home, as opposed to this is work for women. We taught them fairness and how important it is to have a sense of fairness for collaboration to work well. And they came back with their stories. So is it disruptive? Just the same way that it could be disruptive for anyone because we go to our common humanity. Oh, and one more thing. Forget about them being like, these weak people. They were doing public speaking at the end of the event with the Day of Compassion Day. They were giving speeches in front of everyone, and some of them don't even know how to write. So again, I was confronted with my own biases, and you know what? We're all the same. We have this common humanity that makes us so much more alike than different, regardless of our external circumstances.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. We often say, and we know the people that have gone through all of the compassion trainings and this will to learn and to use compassion in action as the action, no, that it is life changing. And we actually talk about like compassion revolution, and no, and it's a peaceful way of changing our societies. And it's one of the main reasons I, for example, I'm still in this, because I see it happening again and again and again in all sorts of different sectors. And I love the way that you've wrapped it all into a beautiful, hopefully replicable program that others can feel inspired by and appropriate in a similar way. I think I have one more question here, and is there anything you do differently?
Rafael, do you want to take that question first?
Sure. Um, One of the main things that we taught to the mothers was the CDPs. And as Andrea was saying, these are focused on teamwork. And I have taken all not all of them, because some of them are not applicable, but I've taken some in order to change the way I work with my teams inside my career, and it really helps a lot. It really helps bring them closer. We start to become less of colleagues, but more as friends. And sometimes in the career, you forget that these are also people. You forget that these are not just robots that are gonna do what what we have to do, but these are people, and treating them as a team instead of people that have to work. Um, it really changes the way that we work, and it really changes the process. One of the very important parts that we had to deal with during the project, the student syndrome. It really helps to deal with that, and it's the main part that I have taken out of this project, and the main thing that has changed the way I interact with others. Yes,
Thank
please.
you, Rafael.
Thank you.
And from my part, there, of course, there's so much to learn because this is the first time I do a project like this. I did do prosocial projects before, five of them, but not to this scale of like taking the students and 5 hours away. So it was a very big responsibility. Um, and so one of the struggles I had was I was teaching this pro-social course, which was essential because I was teaching them so that they could then go teach the community. So if the students did not participate in class, then I felt that they were not prepared to go and teach the community. And so I struggled there. That was probably my biggest struggle. And then had this fantastic idea of meeting instead of online in person. So that became a beautiful space where I would bring dinner for the students. Some of them, not all, were very low income students. And just the fact that they knew that there was a meal for them and that we were going to kind of like have this beautiful space of sharing and learning. It was from the heart, no, it wasn't anything superficial. So we would share from the heart and learn from each other. And I wish I could have known it before because I was breaking my head trying to figure out how to motivate the students to come to the classes and learn. So that was a big one. The next time, from the very beginning, I'll just make those classes in person as opposed to online. The other part that I think I could have helped a little bit more was um, helping with the meetings. The students had a rough time uh, having at least one meeting. The communication between them was not the best because everyone had like 100 things in their agendas. The times would not coincide. So what we had to do there was I had to have a more active role in helping them meet at least once a week. So when I do it again, I'll make sure that the coordinator, such as Rafa, whoever is the coordinator at the moment, I'll make sure that we make it a point to help the students meet at least once a week. Because when the communication was there, then they had time to um, teach or delegate the work, and it became a lot less hectic. So that was a big one. And then last but not least, we taught prosocial spirituality. That's what Rafa was referring to. And unfortunately, like I mentioned at the beginning, the last two trips had to be canceled because of security concerns. And those were the two sessions where I wanted to teach this pro-social spirituality concepts. And so I couldn't. And it's like I did teach it to the students. Actually, they did it themselves. But I still feel a little bit I feel bad that we couldn't do it the way I wanted to do it with the community. And I think I saw a
Would you go,
question.
just to finish on those next two sessions that they have, do you think you'll go back to give them later on at some point, or
Yeah,
would that
that's a
be a
great idea.
possibility?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to. Except the students were the ones who prepared them, and they did it here in Monterrey
Mm,
for themselves. And wow, was it beautiful. The students were so creative. They came up with these beautiful activities. So I
lovely.
would love for the parents to get the knowledge from the actual students, even
Yeah.
though it's priceless. And I will go back and teach them it. I already mentioned them slightly, but I do want to go deeper into the pro-social spirituality principles.
Nice. Nice. So we can go ahead with Marilyn's question. Thank you.
Yeah, I can reword it. I think that I'm curious about how is it that as you made your first contact with the community, how was it that you introduced your presence there and the project, and how did you I don't know if the words convince, but how is it that you allowed for people to own the project with you?
Those are very good questions, Marilyn. First of all, how was it introduced? We told them that we were going to teach them skills to help them at an emotional level, to relate better with their families, and just we gave it a context of personal growth from the very beginning. So and the beauty of it is Abril had already worked this community for 6 years. So anything
Mhm.
that she brings to the table, they're open. And I gotta say that this is not a fun town. There's not a grocery store. There's not a movie theater. There's not nothing
Mhm.
except houses where people live. They do have a strong sense of community, but sometimes they would share that somehow it would come up that it gave them something to do on the weekend. This is like their weekend activity, like in the US or maybe Mexico. We go to the movies or we do something on the weekend. They don't have that experience. So just the fact that we were there, it's something new that would take them out of like housework, and that's an incentive for them to be there. And then how do they own the project? That's the whole point of prosocial world, and it's the essence of prosocial work. And so there's 4 P's actually in the methodology. The first P is personal. So how do I become aware of myself, my needs, what I want to bring into this project, how I interact with the team? The second P is purpose. So that's why we took them to that retreat. We did a whole training to connect, for the team members to connect with each other from that personal experience. Of it was beautiful because we were in this magical place, and I was teaching them mindfulness, and we were doing mindful walks, and uh, all this beautiful inner work. Then we would come together, and this is how we started with this personal aspect. And then we got to connect with each other, and then the purpose. What are we going to do? And we went through defining a vision. We went through defining values for our team. We went through a miracle question, which is what do we envision for the future? And then after that, after purpose, we have principles, and we learn about the principles of collaboration, which was is part of prosocial's methodology, and they're based on the elements of Eleanor Ostrom. She designed them, and she actually won the Nobel Prize for her work on collaboration. So we went there. It's like, okay, these are the obstacles that we're going to encounter as a team, and we're going to be ready because these are the tools that we're going to use as we go along. And it sure happened, and it was the beauty of this project, because when I learned prosocial, it was a lot of theory, but then I didn't have a project that I was applying the theory to. And then it was like, I have all this conceptual knowledge, but I don't have an embodied understanding of what I'm doing. So our students had to got to have both the two sides of the spectrum. Like in the one side, they knew the methodology, I was giving them the training. And on the other hand, they had a project in which they would see all of this theory coming to life. So the principles were applied, and last but not least, proposals. And that's what I said that that's the last P of prosocial, the proposals, and it's where I actually empower the teams to come up with their own small projects, because we did have a big agenda as far as we're teaching principles of collaboration. We're teaching Emory's program for compassion. We're doing research. But then I also told them, what do you and your team want to bring to the table? Give us two proposals. So every single team gave us at least two proposals of how they were going to help their team members and their community embody the practices. So that's where they came up with, let's give them a notebook for journaling. And that's where they came up with, let's do your story, your voice. So it was another activity that the students came up with. And then, oh yeah, let's do a compassion net, and all of these amazing ideas that they brought to the table. So it was not just something that Andrea gave them and imposed on them. They knew that we had to teach some concepts, and that we did have a specific agenda, but I opened up space so that they could add the activities that were going to go with each one of those concepts to be taught, and then they had their own little project. So I think that the combination was nice, because the collective intelligence of the team just was shining all through.
So, what would you say about the wisdom of the village people that you worked with? How was that incorporated into the skill building um, that that you were a part of?
That's a great question, Marilyn. I think that the wisdom of the village, it's our wisdom as human beings. Again, we go through that common humanity where no matter where you are, you care about your family. You want the best for your children. You want to have peace of mind. So as you're able to go back to those very basic needs, human needs, and you connect the basic needs of the community with what you're teaching them, then it becomes very organic that you want to include this, right? Because if you're suffering, and then I tell you, you know what, if you're struggling with your child, then let's try this strategy. Let's try gratitude. Let's try uh, boundaries. Let's try giving them consequences in a healthier manner. Then you go like, okay, and it's simple, right? Because this was a big part of it. We didn't want to teach something complicated. We people don't like complicated stuff. So it was always about making it simple. And when you do it that way, then again, just combining our common humanity. We all want to be happy, and we all want to have less suffering. And from there, build on and make it very applicable to, and this was tough, how to put ourselves in their place. Like it would happen to me that it was like, uh, for example, positive reinforcements. I was teaching them at some point how it's important to do something with your children, older children, at least once a week. And my examples would be like, oh, take them for cupcakes, take them to the mall, take them to the park. There's no park, there's no mall, and there's no cupcakes. So it's like, oh God, so how do I bring it to their context? And it was about that. And even though, and for some reason, at the beginning it wasn't so apparent. This is an agriculture kind of community, so they're farmers, and a lot of their own experiences, when they would bring back the examples, then we realized, you know what, they're farmers. So for example, we were teaching them about collaboration, and then a lady came and said, you know what, now we women in the house are going outside to feed the animals with the men, and then the men are coming inside the house to help us cook. So it was like, oh, all right. Now I get it. You're farmers, but I'm not used to, working with farmers. So it was a whole process of us trying to learn from them, just like they would also learn from us.
So in the beginning, almost like an appreciative inquiry exercise, um, was there an opportunity for the people in the village to say, this is what we love, this is what we appreciate, these are the good things that are happening, and then taking that essence, the core of who they are in common humanity, and then saying, or having the opportunity, because I'm not certain about the process that you use, but then taking the things that they love and are an essential part of who they are, but then to flip the coin and say, what are some of the concerns that you have as individuals and concerns that you have as a community?
That's a great question, Marilyn. And one of the things that I would love to do differently is exactly that. Because I was with Abril, she knew the community. So she told me, Andrea, these are the issues. And she kind of like gave me a snapshot of the community. Uh, if I had to change something, I would probably go and not ask Abril, but maybe ask the community members themselves. However, she's been there for 6 years, and I do think that she gave us a very good big picture of what was going on. But yes, I
Yeah,
think that's a
I,
good
I
thing.
think I think it's wonderful because you did have her, and they obviously trust her. But if you went into another community and didn't have someone like Abril, then you would have to re-strategize. But if you look at the work of Paulo Freire in Brazil and beyond, of people who use his methodology, the first is to give positive presence to the voice of people, so that people in sharing their ideas come to a new sense of understanding of their own being. And so I was just thinking as you were doing this whole presentation, how probably if you went into another community, you'd have to really rethink how you would do this, because you
Yes,
didn't have that framework and that strong structure that was already in place for you.
you're absolutely right. And what I've thought about here is, now I do want to make one very important point here, and it's that the way the content is delivered is not just transmitting information.
Mhm.
It's all about, as we teach, the people give life to the class with their own stories, with their own insights. So that makes a huge difference. And that's how we were able to learn so much from them, because it was never like, it was never a class on anything. It was always, here's a principle, and let's talk about it, and how does it apply to you? And even if I knew how it applies to them, it's not about me telling them anything. It's about that self-reflection. So from that perspective, the public gives, or the participants give life to whatever I'm teaching. And this is not just for this project, for every single program that I create is always based on that. I'm not teaching concepts, people are going to give it life. I just teach something essential, and then you analyze it, you take it home, you make it your own, and then you come back and you tell the story of how it went for you. What were the challenges and what were the achievements, right? So from that perspective, it always becomes very much about, it becomes custom made, which is kind of but then on the other side, there's a whole part that of the protocol that I skipped altogether, just because I had Abril with me. Now, not having Abril, then I would have to go back into interviews. And I already have planned it because I already have the next project lined up, and that's going to be my approach. Instead, even if I had someone, and I do have someone very close to this community who could do the same again and tell me, look, and I will do both, of course, but I want to hear from the people. I'll have a Google interview, and I'll have the principal of the school send it to all the moms, and the main people. I'm not going to have time to read the whole thing, of course, but I'll have it a way to kind of like get a snapshot directly from the people, so it's not just through a middleman.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at the time. I too have a lot of questions like Merida had, and I think that you know, in talking with people, just asking them, how do you feel about us coming into your community? What do you think we can learn from you? Because this is a two-way street, and I think that's another approach. But I'm wondering about carrying on the project locally. How will they? Has there been a plan for them to assure themselves that they are not going to let this go? That it's going to continue?
Yes. So right there, there's two part to that question. The first thing is, we try to develop or help them develop habits, right? So these are the habits that you need to have in place. So you're not dependent on us coming to keep this alive. So if you integrated it the way we taught it, then it's your own. You have your habit, and it's a lifelong habit, and you will see the difference. Again, that replication aspect. Do you do things your way and maybe not get such great results, or do you apply these principles of collaboration and all of a sudden there's more peace at home? So naturally, you might want to continue what you learn, right? So that's at the personal level, but then more about the project with Abril and everything else. We have a few obstacles to cross, and one of them is the problem with insecurity. We cannot have the students go there again. My plan was, let's do a second round, but instead of just teaching them social, emotional, and compassion skills and collaboration, let's talk about financial literacy, so that we can help them be self-supporting. And the moms are the heroes of this community. But then again, it would be tough to do it online. So that's one of the big obstacles that we need to cross. And hope, and I'm grateful that Abril is there, and she'll go there no matter what. Even if the world was about to end, she'll still be there. And so I'm sure she will take it forward. And so we do have to wait for the situation to settle a little bit before we can ourselves go and keep the project alive. But at least as far as the those personal practices that we taught, I am hoping that we have created some deep-seated changes that will persist and prevail through time.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was really beautiful, and we are at the top of the half past hour, so we do have to be wrapping up. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add, or another question? And if not, we can take this further. Oh, Jibreen, raised your hand, so please go ahead and extend your question or comment.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm speaking from Nigeria. I'm Ambassador Jibril Muhammad Benji from Nigeria. I'm the founder and executive director of Frontiers for Peace and Advocate Foundation. I'm also part of the URI. I also went to the School of the Institute for Economic and Peace. I learned so much from this presentation. It's very inspiring and motivation. This is what we are keeping doing in our community, because in our community we have issue of insecurity. This is what we are doing for the several years or monthly, because I was part of the URI. I undergo different series of the training, especially in the youth dialogue, and a lot of them. That's why I have the passion and interest in to engage the community stakeholders, the youth, the securities, and other traditional leaders and religious leaders, so that they can come together to tackle the issue of insecurity in our local region. Because this is what I'm doing and keeping doing in my community, because we have the issue of the insecurity in our dear state, especially in Nigeria, in where we are living. Because we have the different IDP people that are there to come there, migrate from rural area to the urban area. This is what the issue of the conflict that happened. And we, the CSO, we are trying to tackle the issue by making sensitization, organizing town hall meeting with these different peoples. Thank you so much. Let me stop here, because I look the time is against things all. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed the presentation. And I just want to close by saying thank you to the Charter of Compassion. Thank you to Marilyn. Thank you to Merida. It was great to have a chance to share our work. And mainly thank you, Rafael, for always being with me
Yeah.
through this project.
Yes, and thank you, Andrea and Rafael. This was really, really inspiring. And as I foresaw from the beginning, this is like a perfect wrap up for the last Ednet of the year. We have our next Ednet on the 16th, is it? Yes, the 16th of January. We do hope you come. It's going to be with a beautiful program as well called My Hero, and they use heroes to inspire compassion, cross-cultural understanding, and peace. They celebrate the best of humanity, one story at a time, using project media, art, and technology. So that's very, very brief, and I'm sure I'm not even close to everything that they do as well. But that might be an inspiring program again for you as well, to add on to whatever you're doing. So I would love everybody that's on this call at least to come to the next one, and whoever's watching this and watches the recording, please do come to our Ednets. They are very useful, and we love doing it as well.
Thank you so much.
So thank you. I'm going to
Bye-bye.
stop the recording.